the reality, as the financial system gets more controlling and more invasive, it's a little bit like bringing up a corral around us. And CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, and vaccine passports or digital IDs are sort of the last shutting of the gate. It's hard for many people to imagine the risks here because we're so used to living with financial transaction freedom, and we don't understand that when this gate closes on us, we literally will be sitting in a system where the central banks believe that our assets belong to them, and they can dictate where we can spend money and what we can spend money on.
Scary stuff, right? Well, buckle up, because that's just the tip of the iceberg. Imagine a day when you're regaling your kids with tales of the once mighty US dollar, recounting how you witnessed its self-inflicted downfall, brought on by arrogance, greed, and a knack for playing schoolyard bully. But wait, there's more. You'll also reminisce about the day physical currency went the way of the dodo, replaced by a shiny new digital US dollar. In the blink of an eye, or rather 24 hours, the greenback's fate will be sealed. Starting today, the first week of April, the Federal Reserve kicks off its FedNow program, putting the kibosh on paper currency and propelling the U.S. into a cashless society. Picture a world where Big Brother tracks your every transaction and money in your account can expire faster than the latest TikTok dance trend. And if you think we're pulling your leg, just check the Fed's website for all the juicy details on this expiring money scheme. But surely, you say, this must be some far-off dystopia. Think again. China's already ahead of the curve, and cash is already persona non grata at U.S. government sites like museums, national parks, and historical landmarks. Want to explore the Wright Brothers Museum? Leave your cash at home and embrace the digital age. Smithsonian, Mount Rainier National Park? You guessed it. No cash allowed. And don't think businesses are immune either. Many American companies have already gone cashless, claiming it's all about convenience. But let's be real, it's all about control. So as we tiptoe into this brave new world, we can't help but wonder, are we ready for the digital dollar roller coaster? Let's rewind to 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea. We won't dive into the whys and wherefores. You're a savvy bunch, after all. But let's examine the chain of events that followed. The U.S. and its Western allies threw a sanctions party, and Russia's ruble took a nosedive. But then, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Russia experienced a remarkable resurgence that would ultimately spell trouble for the US dollar. Faced with a plummeting currency, Russia turned up the dial on its production of, well, everything. Oil, lithium, silver, uranium, natural gas, you name it. In doing so, they became a one-stop shop for the world's mineral needs. Need uranium for your nuclear reactor? Russia's your go-to. In fact, the U.S. sources nearly all of its uranium from Russia. Talk about irony.
For those folks who've lost their job right now because a plant went down to Mexico, that isn't going to make you feel better.
While the U.S. was busy dismantling its manufacturing sector under President Obama, Russia and China were doubling down. As Russia flooded the market with oil, prices dropped, and the once almighty petrodollar took a hit. U.S. sanctions on Russia had unintentional side effects. They drove down oil prices and, with it, demand for U.S. dollars. Cue the war in Ukraine and even more sanctions. It was like hurling kitchen sinks at Russia. As trade between Russia, the U.S., and its allies dwindled, the U.S. dollar's value slumped, and the Fed now predicts a recession in the U.S. Meanwhile, Russia enjoys an economic boom, with the ruble reaching record highs.
Describing their talks, Putin said, "We are in favor of using the Chinese Yuan for settlements between Russia and the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America." So, the world's second largest economy and its largest energy exporter are together actively trying to dent the dollar's dominance as the anchor of the international financial system.
But wait, there's more. Let's take a quick trip back to the early 70s when the petrodollar system was born. The U.S. struck a deal with Saudi Arabia to price oil in U.S. dollars, requiring other countries to hoard greenbacks to buy oil from OPEC nations. This demand bolstered the U.S. dollar's status as the world's dominant currency, emboldened America to flex its muscles, and allowed it to rack up debt with little concern. However, times are a-changin', and the once unassailable US dollar now faces an uncertain future. The question on everyone's mind, are we witnessing the end of an era? The US has been wielding the dollar as an economic weapon, using sanctions and other tactics to force countries to fall in line with its foreign policy goals.
The dollar is America's last surviving superpower. It gives Washington unrivaled economic and political muscle. It can slap sanctions on countries unilaterally, which frees that country out of large parts of the world economy. And Washington can spend freely, certain that its debt will be bought up by the rest of the world.
These desperate moves reveal America's reliance on Russia and China for minerals and manufacturing, despite having plenty of resources at home. We're sitting on a gold mine, literally, of uranium, lithium, gold, and oil, but our infrastructure has seen better days. Case in point, we only have one active lithium mine, even as electric cars are set to take over our roads. To fuel this green revolution, the Biden administration is showering companies with billions of dollars for charging stations, solar panel parking lots, and more. Yet, we're still beholden to China and Russia to make it all happen. It's like a bizarre game of economic twister. Even Ford announces it's investing billions and partnering with China to mine minerals for its electric vehicles in Indonesia. Yup, it's gotten so dire that Ford is jumping into bed with China. Here's Ford's take on it.
Not just the mining, but the processing the materials. Actually, even if they're mined, let's say in the US, nickel, most of it is sent back to China to get processed.
On the very same day, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen admits our dependence on foreign minerals and resources.
We know this is an era where we rely on one single supplier, China, for 98% of our rare earth supply, 93% of our magnesium, 97% of our lithium, just to name a few.
As the U.S. attempts to sever ties with Russia and China and bring manufacturing back home, it's also throwing money at businesses to adopt eco-friendly practices. With government incentives for electric vehicle charging stations and more, companies would be crazy to say no to Uncle Sam's cash. But in the midst of it all, the U.S. dollar faces a perfect storm. China, Russia, and Saudi Arabia are ditching the greenback for oil transactions. America has outsourced manufacturing and mineral production. And the Federal Reserve is rolling out a digital dollar that can be conjured up at will, untethered to any physical form of money. So grab your popcorn, folks, because we'll be front-row witnesses to the slow demise of the U.S. dollar right here on this channel. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more economic news.